I've been racking my brain over the past couple of days as to why the media hates the Sound of Freedom's success so much. This is the first time in a long time that we've seen a Hollywood-level film break through with the success that it has seen so far. Don't really have a corollary for it also beating the brakes off of a tentpole franchise like Indiana Jones, but we'll see how thorough that is soon enough. But it's somebody who doesn't want to attribute malice to anything that could be explained away by just simple ignorance. It really does just come down to a fact after exhausting all of the different aspects of this. Maybe the media just really are creeps, okay? Because if you compare and contrast this, Rolling Stone, Washington Post, The Guardian, BBC, every other leftist publication, CTV, CBC in Canada, go ahead, pick any one of them out of a hat, New York Times, if you will, all of them. They just decided to compare and contrast these two horrific publications to just show you that, yes, Rolling Stone and the Washington Post praised pro-pedophilia movies Cuties and attacked anti-child sex trafficking movie Sound of Freedom. It's almost like they have an agenda because they only care about child trafficking if the end destination is at one of their headquarters. They just actually might be evil at the end of this. Like I said, I don't want to attribute malice to anything that can be explained away via ignorance, but you're really giving me no other options because there's nothing wrong with Sound of Freedom, okay? Like just a, quick plot synopsis, because okay, we already know the players that are involved here. Jim Caviezel, he's a conservative, he played Jesus in Passion of the Christ. Okay, that's kind of like disagreeing with somebody in an argument, but you also don't have the information or you don't have the articulation skill to argue the other position in said debate or said open conversation, so you result to ad hominem attacks. And most of the people commenting on the situation have no idea what's up with this film. So here's a brief overview, okay? In Honduras, I'm not going to begin to even know how to pronounce that city's name. Roberto, a poor father of two, is approached by a former beauty queen, Gisela. Gisela offers to sign his young children, Miguel and Rocio, to child modeling contracts, which is already a big red flag. He accepts and takes them to the photo shoot. However, when he returns to pick up his children, they're gone. It is revealed that the children were sold and to be used as sex slaves. Gross. That already makes my stomach turn. In Calexico, California, Tim Ballard, a special agent for Homeland Security and Investigations, which, okay, all of this checks out, where he arrests people who possesses and distributes CP. Painful work takes a great toll on his personal life and is worsened when another agent, Chris, points out that they have arrested many child predators but have failed to save even a single child from being exploited. Okay, Tim rescues the boy, whose name is Miguel. After reading about a child sex club in Thailand that was shut down, Tim decides for the perfect cover story to acquire a large number of Giselle's children in a sting operation. However, Frost is unable to persuade staff at the U.S. Embassy in Colombia to assist with Tim's rescue operation. And then it talks about him going off the books in order to carry out the plan that he was trying to do by using paramilitary operations. I don't want to spoil everything, but obviously, because, people are really resonating with this, guess what? There's not a subversive ending where he actually ends up being the pimp and the entire organizer of the ring. No, there's probably a good ending to this. And yes, it's a powerful story. I don't know where you get these QAnon connections to it. All of it seems to be completely fabricated because the media hates it when an independent group can come in and so successfully pierce the narrative, tell a good apolitical story. And the mass media has absolutely nothing to do with it. But like I was talking about when it came to the whole discussion paradigm, if you can't tear down an argument on its substance, you have to start attacking the person who is leveling the arguments. Case in point, this is why they despise it so much because, okay, you have the UFC's Dana White, who is, to the media, a very crass, a very coarse individual. But why is that? Well, it's because he's actually in control of one of the only successful and growing sports companies in the world because he didn't kowtow to the pandemic. That's kind of why they hate him. Oh, right, and he's also a very, very, very staunch supporter of Trump, but more on him very shortly because that all ties together. So yes, Dana White endorses Sound of Freedom. You must see this fucking movie, which I'd imagine he probably said in his endorsement video. He's got a very foul mouth. UFC's Dana White encouraged all of his followers on Saturday to see Sound of Freedom, insisting it must be seen. The film is based on the true story of Tim Ballard. We already went over some of this. Ballard quit his job as the DHS special agent to establish Operation Underground Railroad, which helps rescue trafficked children from sex slavery and exploitation worldwide. In support for the film and its topic, the Ultimate Fighting Championship president posted a video on Twitter account encouraging everyone to see the movie while even offering free tickets for his employees. Wow, that is a strong endorsement. Holy. There's a new movie out called Sound of Freedom, and it's about human trafficking. More importantly, the trafficking of children. This is a disgusting, horrific issue that's happening all around the world, and it's not getting better. It's getting worse, White said, with a Boston accent. Okay, I don't do a Boston accent. He continued, and I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to give any of my UFC employees that want to see this movie free tickets to go see it. I would like to encourage other executives to do the same in their companies. His tweet read, "You must see this movie." Wow, man. And people out there, especially in Hollywood, are just punching air because the UFC is a gigantic platform. I personally used to be a huge fan back in the cut when pretty much everybody else was a big UFC fan. I know it kind of sounds like a bandwagon follower, but I was watching everything. I think I pinpointed it. I forget exactly which card it is, but it had Rampage Jackson, Vanderlei Silva as the co-main event, and it had Frank Mir when he broke Minotauro Nogueira's arm when he had a big staph infection on his back. I forget, was that UFC the 94, 93, 94, somewhere in the upper 90s. From then on, I caught every single pay-per-view, including that horrific 116 or something at the Indiana State Fieldhouse. Oh my God, when Mirko Krokop and Pat Barry hugged it out. I watched that shit, and everybody hated that card, including Dana White. I watched everything all the way up until, Chris Weidman providing the leg for Anderson Silva to put a 45-degree angle into his. And then to have Joe Rogan go, "Oh my God, Chris Weidman's like the greatest middleweight that we've ever seen." And then, what did he defend the belt once and then end up losing it to somebody who came in on short notice and Luke Rockhold? Ugh, fucking bald-headed dork. That's not to say that I don't appreciate, the sport of mixed martial arts. The competitors that are in there, they're some of the best that they've ever had, and they're definitely the most technically sound. It's just, I ain't got 6 hours to watch a card like I used to anymore. And given the fact that, Dana White kept a lot of people employed at a time when everybody else was just scared about the common flu, I do appreciate him for that. And the fact that he speaks his mind, he allows everybody. He doesn't force his conservative values on anybody that he works with, okay? He works with everybody across the political spectrum. If you can come in and fight, you got a job. And if you want to go to a Trump rally, well, guess what? I'll bring you along. So him lending his credibility so strongly like this is another reason that the media absolutely despises Sound of Freedom. And here's another name that's in there that also lets you know why the media hates this film so much. White also featured a clip from actor and director Mel Gibson, who is, oh man, for as much as I like to say that Al Pacino is my favorite actor, which he definitely is, even though to say that he's had a spotty record is to say that in the nicest way possible. But Mel Gibson, oh man, come on. Mad Max, Road Warrior, Lethal Weapon, Braveheart, The Patriot, Ransom. I swear to God, probably growing up between him and Kurt Russell. Also watched a few Kirk Douglas films, but no. Yeah, Mel Gibson and Kurt Russell. Those guys, I probably watched more of their films growing up than anybody else. Mostly because my father was a giant fan of Tombstone, and then, his favorite franchise is Lethal Weapon. So, and then another reason Mel Gibson gets another, notch up in my book is one of my more favored actors. Not to speak on his directorial prowess, okay? Passion of the Christ, Apocalypto, a couple of other films. Hacksaw Ridge. Didn't he do Hacksaw Ridge? Yeah, he's extremely talented when it comes to that, but also he gave me some of the biggest belly laughs from some of those voicemails that he left his former Russian whore wife. Oh my God, that shit is so funny in some point in time. Eventually, when this stupid internet fiasco ends up getting fixed, we gotta listen back to some of that. Oh my God, from the turn of the decade. Oh my God, that was the funniest shit ever. I love Mel Gibson for that. Oh, kind of like Jonah Hill. He has certain standards in his relationship. What needs to happen first and foremost? Something about he needs a smile, and then something else needs to precipitate. Anyways, back to this story. I'm just reminiscing about how fucking awesome Mel Gibson is. Similarly, encouraging everyone to see the film to learn more about the horrors of human trafficking. One of the most disturbing problems is human trafficking, and particularly the trafficking of children. Now, the first step in eradicating this crime is awareness. Go see Sound of Freedom. Exactly Exactly, man. Jim Caviezel, who played Jesus in The Passion of Christ, stars as Ballard's character in the film and recently spoke to Fox News about the importance of the project. But yeah, okay, there you go. You have a couple of degrees separation from somebody who he got drummed out of Hollywood because who did he go after? Oh, he was just getting drunk and hopping on the top of cars and saying something about if you're going to wear a hat, make sure that it at least, keeps the rain off of all of your head except for one little point. I don't know. He wasn't really specific, and it's been a while since I've heard those clips. I wasn't too sure who he was specifically pointing out, but over the past few years, who is one of the most prolific individuals whenever you hear human trafficking? And if you say Andrew Tate, I'm going to personally find you and kick you in the nuts. But no. There's somebody who had like an island and a whole black book or a whole, customer guide that is recently in jailed. Girlfriend has all the names of that we haven't seen a list of anybody. Oh, right. And somebody else who was in jail at the same time and definitely 100% successfully hung themselves. What's the guy's name? Epsteal. I don't know, it kind of escapes me, but it's almost like if you just heeded the warnings of Mel Gibson back in the mid-2000s, you could have been hip to the fact that shit like this that Sound of Freedom is pointing out, has been going on by some very powerful individuals, not just in Hollywood, but also above Hollywood. And somebody else who is also hip to all this stuff is Trump. And look who was all backstage at the recent UFC 290 event. Really is a shock as to why the media hates Sound of Freedom so much, because the band's all back together. Oh, we are so back. Trump holds meeting with Mel Gibson after Sound of Freedom tops box office. President Trump met with Hollywood legend Mel Gibson backstage during UFC 290 on Saturday night in Las Vegas. The meeting was hot on the heels of the inspiring success of anti-child trafficking film Sound of Freedom at the box office. Gibson has been a major promoter of the movie. One of the most disturbing problems in the world today is the human trafficking, and particularly the trafficking of children, Gibson said recently in promotion of Sound of Freedom. In fact, Jack Posobiec said Tim Ballard claimed Mel Gibson had some input on the final edit of Sound of Freedom. Aha! See? UFC boss Dana White pledged just hours earlier, spelling mistake, earlier to pay for all of his employees to see the groundbreaking film, which we already went over. The encounter backstage at the highly anticipated UFC event created a buzz among attendees and media. Joined by Roger Stone, the meeting brought together three individuals known for their strong personalities, outspoken views, resulting in a captivating blend of politics, entertainment, and intrigue. And yes, if you didn't see it, I would encourage you to go listen to the enormous ovation that Trump got when he was walking out, because UFC 290, that was taking place not in his backyard like the last time that he turned out to a UFC event. What was that, 285 in Miami? No, this one was in Nevada, a state that theoretically didn't vote for him in 2020. But holy shit, the fucking roof came off that motherfucker out there. And then he's backstage shooting the shit with Mel Gibson at Dana White's event. And all of them are going out there telling you and singing the praises of Sound of Freedom. That tells the other side of one of mass media and their puppet masters' favorite pastimes. Yeah, really does get the old noggin jogging as to why they're so butthurt about this. So, just a little food for thought for everybody. I just can't really draw. There's just a whole bunch of circumstantial evidence as to why the media and so many people are so pissed off at this film and so many other people promoting it. Can't really draw any concrete conclusions, but like I said, it does get the old noggin jogging, doesn't it? So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.